good morning. Welcome to the class of Network Security and Cryptography Fundamentals. Today I am continuing with my previous lecture, that is MAC authentication. So, what is the objective of my today's lecture? First, I am going to discuss about the same before continuing with the remaining lecture. So, what is my objective? First, this is my point. As we are going to study about the message authentication protocol, that is MAC. So what is the objective behind the same? That is, only authentic users will see the message that is being sent between the two parties. So in this way, data integrity could be achieved, and in this way we can be easily able to deduce that who is the originator of the message. So this is main objective behind the same. So we are going to discuss about the same. So what will be the requirements for the message authentication protocol in cryptography in MAC? So taking into the account the types of attack, that is the need the MAC to satisfy the following conditions. First is knowing a message and a MAC. It is infeasible to find another message with the same MAC. And second is MAC should be uniformly distributed. Third is MAC should depend equally on all bits of the message. Now what does this mean practically? So what the author is giving information about. So what will be the requirement for the MAC, and what are the various protocols that one should follow in order to comply with the requirement. So first is, a MAC is known as the cryptography checksum. So it is generated by a function C of the form. You can write it down. T, capital T is equal to MAC K of M, in which key will be used, where M is the message, that is variable length message. So M is the variable length message, K is the secret key that will be used, and it will be shared only by the sender and the receiver. So MAC K and M is the fixed length authentication. Sometimes it is called tag. You can have a look at the formula. I am sharing it with you for your reference. Just have a look at this formula. This is the tag that is being used, which is equal to MAC. Okay, MAC authentication, we are using MAC authentication, so we are specifying MAC here. This is the key that is to be shared between the two parties, that is sender and receiver only, and this is the message that is to be shared between the two parties. So the tag is appended to the message at the source at a time when the message is assumed or known to be correct. So the receiver authenticates that message by recomputing the tag. So next is, when an entire message is encrypted for confidentiality using either symmetric or asymmetric encryption. Symmetric or asymmetric encryption is either shared secret key or private key is used. Either it is using the public key cryptographic concept or private key cryptographic concept. The security of the scheme depends on the bit length of the key. So we can bear some weaknesses in the algorithm because the opponent must resort to a brute force attack using all the possible keys. But on an average, such an attack will require 2 raised to power k minus attempts for a k bit key. So in particular, for a ciphertext only attack, the opponent, given ciphertext C, performs PI, that is on plain text, which is getting decrypted with the help of K and ciphertext C. So I am using this formula with you. I am sharing this formula with you. So this is the formula. This is not the point. This is the formula that we are supposed to use while we are performing the MAC operations. So for all the possible keys values K, I, and PI, until a PI is produced that matches the form of a acceptable plain text. So in this way, he is going to deduce the message that is being originating from the originator side. So in the case of a MAC, but what happens in the Mac, the considerations are entirely different, because in general the Mac function is many to one function, many to one function. So due to many to one nature of the function, many to one is the cardinality. Using brute force methods, how would an opponent attempt to discover a key? So, if confidentiality is not employed, the opponent has access to the plain text, messages, and their associated message authentication cryptography. Because suppose K7N, that is, suppose that the key size is greater than the max size, that is, key is greater than the n. So the given, then we are given a known M and T, that is message, and the tag is already known to us, with Ti is equal to Mac K and M. Mac K mean to say Mac using key and original message. The cryptanalysis can perform Ti, which is equal to Mac Ki into M1, because message will remain the same. We are supposed to use various keys, or various assumptions could be made in order to deduce the plain text. So for all the possible key values of Ki, so at least one key is guaranteed to produce a match for the Ti to T1, because we are if we are putting some effort to gain something out of that thing, then if I am generating guess at the constant instant of time, it might be the case that only 10 conditions persist for a DAT system. If 9 conditions goes fail, then 10 condition turned out to be true. So in this way, the message could be hacked, or the original information could be hacked. So, but there is important thing that you must note here, that total of 2 raised to power k tags will be produced, but there are only 2 raised to power n into 6 into 2 raised to power k different tag values. Thus a number of keys will produce the correct tag, and the opponent has no way of knowing which is the correct key. So on an average, a total of 2k divided by 2n, which is equal to 2k minus n keys, will produce a match. Thus the opponent must iterate the attack. So the round 1 and round 2, there will be round 1, there will be round 2, and in this manner the number of matches will vary, and there could be many rounds, so on till the match is found. So on an average, a rounds will be needed if k is equal to a star n. That is, if an 80-bit key is used and the tab is 32-bit, then the first round will produce about 2 raised to 40k possible keys. The second round will narrow the possible keys to about 2 raised to power 16 possible tabs. The third round should produce only a single key, which must be the one used key by the sender. So if the key length is less than or equal to the tag length, then it is likely that a first round will produce a single match. It is possible that more than one key will produce such a match, in which case the opponent would need to perform the same test on the new message or a tag bit. So a brute force attempt to discover the authenticity key is no less effort, and maybe more effort, than that required to discover a decryption key of the same length. However, other attacks that do not require the discovery of the key are possible. So consider the algorithm that we are going to use for the MAC algorithm. I am giving you the example. I am presenting it here. Just have a look at the formula that is being used. So the main idea behind the method, let M is equal to x1 parallel x2 parallel A parallel xn. So let's say this be a message that is treated as concatenation. So x1 is concatenated with x2 is concatenated with A is concatenated with xn. So we are using two parallel keys or parallel lines for the concatenation symbol of the 64-bit blocks xi. Then define here this XOR is the exclusive or XOR operation, and the encryption algorithm is DES in electronic code book mode. If you remember, we have discussed this mathematical discussion in the yesterday lecture. That is why I am not putting much stress on the mathematical description behind this technique. So the keys length is 56-bit and the tag length is 64-bit, as we know about the DES algorithm. So if an opponent observe this MAC message which is having a particular key, which is having a particular message M by using a key K, then a brute force attempt to determine K will require at least 256 encrypts. But the opponent can attack the system by replacing x1 through xm1 with any desired value y1 through ym minus 1 and replacing xm with ym, where ym is calculated as, I'm giving you the further. You can write it down, y of m is equal to y1 that is XORed with y2 that is up to XORed with ym minus 1 plus delta of message. There is a bit changes in the message. M minus 1. Delta is the symbol that is being there in the mathematic formula details. I am supposed to select the symbol here or formula here. Shapes. This could be the delta symbol that would be presented here. So this is the basically delta, and I have used the character representation for the delta. So this will be calculated as this, y of m is equal to y1 that is XORed. This is not the plus symbol, this is XORed. You can encircle it. You can put the plus mark in the circle. Then again you can put the plus mark in this encircle. That is again plus here. In this way you can calculate the same. So if you are having any query regarding same, you can ask me. Next is using symmetric cipher format. Using symmetric ciphers format, you can use any block cipher chaining mode and use final block as a MAC. Data authentication algorithm, to which we call generally DA, is widely used MAC based on DES CBC. So it is having various protocol, various concerns that are being associated with it. That is using 4 is equal to 0 and 0 pad of final block. Second is encrypt message using DES in CBC mode and send just the final block as the MAC, or the leftmost M bits, which is having the range 16 is less than equal to M is less than equal to 64 bit of the final block, but final MAC is now too small for security. So this is the concern with the cipher technique that is being used for the message authentication. So what will be the same if I am talking about the symmetric, or if I am talking about the asymmetric technique. Now what is symmetric key algorithm technique? So it is a technique, or these are based on the algorithms for cryptography that uses the same cryptographic key for both encryption and decryption of the plain text and the decryption for the ciphertext. So the key may be identical, or there may be a simple transformation to go between the two keys. Transformation means to say to move from one key to the another. The keys in practice represent a shared secret between two or more parties that can be used to maintain a private information link. So the requirement that both parties have access to the secret key is one of the main common drawback of the symmetric key encryption. So in comparison to public key encryption, it is also known as asymmetric key encryption. So that is why it is more preferred in today's era, because a private key is there, and in public key cryptography, two keys are used. One is public key and second is private key, and a private key is used so that the message could be received by the intended receiver. So next is various types of encryption techniques or symmetric key encryption techniques. They can be stream cipher, they can be block cipher. So what are stream cipher? Stream cipher mean to say that encrypts the digits, or I can say typically bytes or letters of a message one at a time. For example, CHA, CHA. Next is block cipher. It takes a number of bits and encrypt them as a single unit, that is padding the plain text so that it is a multiple of the block size. So there is a question that comes to my mind, that we have discussed so many encryption techniques. Did we judge about the any technique that which is the best technique so far that we have discussed? Because we are just discussing about the techniques, we are just discussing about the problems that exist in one technique, and we overcome those problems in the another technique because it is the new technique with enhanced features. But in cryptography, or I can say network security, we are generally discussing the concept of security, 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 encryption, encryption, encryption. And you can have a look at your syllabus in which there are number of encryption techniques that have been discussed. Only number theory could be used, this encryption technique could be used, classical encryption could be used, substitution technique could be used, MAC could be used. In addition, many more techniques could be used. So we are using these techniques and we know how to use these techniques, but till now we are not coming to a conclusion that which technique is best, which is used nowadays more practically, and which is having I can say we can say which is having the which is the encryption technique that is being reserved for the future use. So we are not coming across these such questions. We are just discussing generally that this topic is there in my syllabus and I am going to cover about the same by learning its objective, by learning its outcome, and by learning its purpose of the learning behind the same, and how can I implement the same, because I am implementing it on the data, so that the data that is communicating between two confidential parties, it could be secured via this mean or via this mean. But we are not coming to a conclusion. We are not coming to a conclusion which could be best technique till date, or which could be the, I can say, if today that technique is best, in future I can say in coming 2 years or more 3 years, because technology is changing daily and it is changing rapidly. So I cannot surely say that this technique is going to be the best in the near future. So I just want that answers from your side, because I think this could be an assignment for you, so that you will gain deep understanding about the network security and cryptography fundamentals. Because we are just completing our curriculum, that is not our main focus. Our focus is to learn something, to apply something practically. Because if I am, after studying the network security, I know what is network, what is security, what are various techniques that will be that could be followed to protect the data. But there could be a purpose behind the same, well-defined purpose could be there. Okay, that I have already discussed. Okay, there could be implementation. So implementation with the help of some formula is there. So I am going to apply the same. Okay, so what are the benefits? What are the limitations? What of the same? And which technique will be in use nowadays, and which is going to rule after 5 years or after 10 years? What will be the outcome in the 5 years from now or in the 10 years from now? So I just want those answers, because in this way you are going to have the deep analysis about the techniques that have been discussed so far. Because I know more encryption techniques could be added, but these could be the subparts of the techniques that we have already discussed. So that is why I am saying, please have a keep a proper analysis of the lectures or encryption techniques that I have discussed so far, so that I can conclude a conclusion after completing the curriculum of this subject. Because I want result oriented approach. Because just discussing about encryption techniques, just discussing about their advantages, disadvantages, that is not my limited scope. We should go deep into the same, because today is the world of technology and we are keeping our data online on our online platform. So cloud is maintained there. So how the security is going to hamper all these systems that we are already using? Now you can see we are already using Google Drive. So Google Drives are getting flooded with our information that is being stored there. So there comes one day when Google Drive is also going to ask us that you are limited, you have crossed this limit, or you are already near to this limit, so no more data could be saved. Because in a few years ago, Google Drive was best option to save any kind of information that is quite confidential. But nowadays it is overwhelming with the data. So I think we would come out with some new technique that is more secure than the Google Drive. Because in Google Drive, I have seen practically that if I am the owner of some sheet, or I am the owner of some data that is being presented in the Google, if I have given someone the rights, particular rights or specific rights to a particular person, so that he can have a view at my data, but he is applying tricks in such a way that he becomes the owner of that data. So I am saying that it is also getting, it is very Google Drive is also very volatile. So there should be some restrictions that could be added to it, so that only the sole owner will be having the access to give rights to a particular person, if he or she can have a right to view his information, to grab his information, to download his information, so and so details. Because there are so many questions that are coming to my mind related to the Google Drive that I am using nowadays, to a huge level. Because nowadays I am working 8 hours on this Google Drive, and I am also seeing that my privacy is also getting tampered via one mean or via second mean. In order to maintain that, I have used a very strong password for the same. So why strong password is used? So that nobody could easily hack my details. But and I am frequently changing my password, but that could not be the limited to my choice only, because I am the computer science student. So I know these little tricks about the technology that could be operated to the Google Drive. But so many people are using the Google Drive. I don't think everybody is having the proper exposure of the Google Drive. So data should be protected in one way or the another. So that is why I am saying you, whatever technique you are studying, please have a deep understanding about the same. I will arrange one session in the near future about the techniques that have been discussed so far, so that I can grab some attention about its potential measures that could be taken, so that what will be the future scope of that technique that is being used nowadays, or that is evolving, still evolving. So this way I want this session, this lecture, to be having a practical output results. So moving forward, I am going to discuss about the symmetric techniques. Block cipher technique is there, and stream cipher is there. So we are using these two techniques. So this is the data authentication algorithm that we have discussed in the yesterday slide, yesterday lecture. You can just have a look at this. I am enlarging it. So what does it mean? 64 bits input is there. So there would be the encryption, and after encryption, there could be some bits that are being lost while this encryption. So it is having a key that is 56 bit. 56 bit key is fed to this 64 bit algorithm. So after performing the whole encryption process, I am receiving the output as 64 bit. So because this is the input, that is 64 bit, this is the output, that is 64 bit. Again, it is XORed with the encryption algorithm, because there are number of rounds that are being performed here in the DES. I think 16 rounds are there. So in this way, after performing the first round, I am going to the second round. After performing the second round, I am going to the third round, until the 16th round is achieved. So in the end, I am receiving the 64 bit output, because 64 bit input is being fed. So there will be number of techniques that will be used, number of formulas that will be used, number of divisions, like left half, there could be a division between 64 bit, and 64 bit is divided into 32 bit and 32 bit, and 32 bit of the left side will be fed to the right hand side of the decryption side, and 32 bit of the right hand side will be fed to the left hand side of the parallel block. So in the end, there will be a swapping that will be performed, and after performing permutation and combination, in addition substitution will be there, we are receiving the result of the 64 bit cipher text. So this is about data authentication algorithm. Till these slides, if you are having any query in your mind, please let me know. Just have a look at all the slides that have been discussed so far. Because next I'm going to discuss about the hash function. So next I am going to discuss about is hash functions. So what are hash functions? Hash function, as the name implies, they will take arbitrary input, but they will produce the fixed output. So how that could be possible, I am going to discuss about the same. So hash functions are extremely useful and appear in almost all information security applications. And hash function is a mathematical function, because in this, if I am talking about network security, you have to brush up your mathematical skills, because a lot of formulas from your 12th standard or and lot of theorems from your 12th standard will be used. In addition, there could be formulas that you might have studied in 7th or 8th standard that might also come into the picture when you are talking about the network security. So a hash function is a mathematical function that converts a numerical input value into another compressed numerical value. So the input to the hash function is of arbitrary length, but the output is always of the fixed length. So values returned by the hash functions are generally called message digest or simply hash values. I have not discussed about message digest algorithm till date. I will discuss about the same in the upcoming lecture. So message digest or hash values. So what will be the interpretation behind the hash function? That is message. First of all, message will be there. After applying the hash function to that basic message, arbitrary size length will be there. Mean to say, if I am choosing 1024, if I am choosing in the multiples of 8, if I am choosing it in the multiple of 10, that is up to me. After applying the hash functions, it is giving me the desired output, that is of the fixed length. So what will be the features of the hash functions? So the typical features of the hash functions will be fixed length output. So first will be that. So the fixed length output condenses arbitrary message to fixed size, that is h is equal to capital H of m with the help of the message. Usually assume that the hash function is public and not keyed. So MAC which is keyed. Reference is given. So hash used to detect changes to the message. It can use in various ways with the message, most often to create a digital signature, and that is being generated here in this picture. You can see. So what will be the features of the hash function? Just have a look at those. So first is fixed length output, that is hash value. So hash function convert data of arbitrary length to a fixed length, and this process is often referred to as hashing the data. Next is, in general, the hash is much smaller than the input data. Hence hash functions are sometimes called compression function, because it is compressing my output value. So hash is smaller representation of the larger data, so it is referred to as the digest. Mean to say, कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमने पचा ली, but and the residue, that is main part is being presented as the output. So next is hash function with n bit output is referred to as the n bit hash function. Popular hash functions generate values between 160 and 512 bits. So next is, what is the efficiency of the hash operation? Efficiency of the operation. So you can just have a look at the features of the hash function. I am giving you the time of 1 minute. Just have a look. So coming to the efficiency, generally for any hash function, obviously h, it will be represented with the help of the symbol h with input x. Computation of h of x will be fast operation. So computationally, hash functions are much faster than the symmetric encryption. So there will be the properties of the hash function. What are the properties, or I can say characteristics of the hash functions? In order to be an effective cryptographic tool, that is hash, the hash function is desired to possess following properties. The first one is pre-image resistance. Pre-image resistance. So what is pre-image resistance? That is, it should be computationally hard to reverse hard function. Pre-image resistance, that is computationally hard to reverse a hash function. So in other words, I can say if a hash function h is producing a hash value z, then it should be difficult process to find any input value x that hashes to z. So this property protect against an attacker who only has a hash value and is trying to find the input. So next is second pre-image resistance. Second pre-image resistance. So what is that factor? It means given an input and its hash, it should be hard to find the different input with the same hash. That is, if a hash function h has an input x and it produces the hash value obviously h of x, then it should be difficult to find any other input value y such that h of y is equal to h of x. So this property of hash function protects against an attacker who has an input value and its hash and wants to substitute different value as legitimate value in place of the original input value. So next, and the third third resistance is collision resistance. So what is collision resistance? Property means it should be hard to find two different inputs of any length that results in the same hash. Mean to say, the collision free hash function property. I can call it as the collision free hash function property. Sorry. So I can say for a hash function h, it is hard to find any two different inputs x and y such that h of x is equal to h of y. I will tell you this in detail with the help of the mathematical example, but in the next lecture. So you are just having, I am just briefing you about the hash function today. So the hash function is compressing function with fixed hash length. It is impossible for a hash function not to have collision. So the collision resistance property of the hash function confirms that these collisions could be hard to find. So this means this property makes it very difficult for an attacker to find two input values with the same hash. Next is, it also, if a hash function is collision resistance, then it is the second pre-image resistance. So next is how we design hashing algorithm. What is the designing mechanism behind hashing algorithm? I am just giving you overview today because you see it is the lengthy topic. I will cover its details in the next lecture. So what is basically the design of hashing algorithm? That is, hashing is the mathematical function, as we all know, that operates on the two fixed size block size of the data to create the hash code. So this hash function forms the part of the hashing algorithm. So the size of each data block varies depending on the algorithm. So typically the block sizes are from 128 bit to 512 bits. There is the designing illustration that will demonstrate the hash function. So what is that? There will be data block, there will be the data block, and on that data block, to that data block, I am using the mathematical hash function, and in the end I am receiving the hash value. So these are three steps I am just telling you. Data block, mathematical formula according to the hashing function. Next is the AND value, that is output, that is the basically hash value. So just this is about the designing mechanism. So what is simple hash function? There are several proposals for simple function that is based on XOR. Now be clear with XOR gate, because you have studied in DLT subject and you are supposed to brush up your digital logic design gate concepts if you are supposed to apply those gates on the cryptography fundamental techniques. So based on XOR, that is exclusive OR gate of the message block, not secure since it can manipulate any message and either not change hash or can change the hash as well. Need a stronger cryptographic function. It will be discussed in the next chapter. So next is the birthday attack. It is also concerned with MAC. What is birthday attack? Might think a 64-bit hash is secure, but by birthday paradox, it is not. Birthday attack works thus: opponent generates 2 raised to power m/2 variations of a valid message, all with essentially the same meaning. I am just briefing you about the same. Opponent also generate 2 raised to power m/2 variations of a desired fraudulent message. Next point of concern is 2 sets of messages are compared to find a pair with the same hash. Probability is greater than 0.5 by birthday paradox. Next is have user sign the valid message, then substitute the forgery, which will have the valid signature. So the conclusion is that we are supposed to use the larger MAC or larger hash value is required. Next is block cipher as hash function. As we have already discussed, just have a look at this slide. We can use block cipher as hash function by using this approach. H of 0 is equal to 0 and 0 pad of the final block. Next is we are supposed to compute this formula. H of I is equal to E M of I encryption, which is we are performing on the message, and it is having the hash value, which is I is less than 1, because maximum value is given on the left hand side, and use final block as the hash value. So next is similar to CBC but without a key. Next is the main point of concern: resulting hash is too small. It is 64-bit as we have discussed earlier. So both due to direct birthday attack and to meet in the middle attack. We will discuss about the birthday attack and meet in the middle attack in the upcoming slides, and other variants also susceptible to the attack. I am using or I am briefing about these terms today so that you can have better understanding about the techniques that I am going to discuss tomorrow, because birthday attack is there, man in middle attack will be there, hashing technique will be there. So we are supposed to work on those 3 techniques one by one. So next is hash function and MAC security. Just have a look at this slide. Like block ciphers, we have brute force attack that is exploiting the vulnerability of the message. So the strong collision resistance we have discussed in the MAC or hash that have caused 2 raised to power m/2. It has proposal for hardware MD5, that is message digest 5 cracker. Next is 128-bit hash looks vulnerable, which is so 160 bits is better. Next is MACs with known message, that is MAC pair, can either attack key space or MAC, or at least 128-bit MAC is needed for the security. So next is hash functions and MAC. Cryptanalytic attack exploit structure like block cipher, want brute force attack to be the best alternative. So next we can have a number of analytic attacks on iterated hash functions, and formula is given here. You can have a look at this formula. C V of I is equal to F C V I minus 1 comma message of I, which is producing the hash value of message, which is equal to C V of n. So it typically focuses on collisions in function f, like block cipher is often composed of rounds, and attack exploit properties of round functions. So summary, we have just considered MAC authentication using message encryption, MAC hash function, journal approach, and security. So this was all about my today's lecture. I have just discussed about various terms that are related to MAC, that are related to birthday attack, that are related to hashing. So this is very interesting. These are very interesting terms, and I am going to discuss one by one in the next lecture. So William Stalling books is available in the library. You can get it issued and have a look at the same. So next is for your better understanding of this lecture. MCQs are given. 10 MCQs are there, and you are supposed to attempt all the MCQs, and you are supposed to submit me the answers on my email account, and my email ID is already shared with you all. So this was all about today's lecture. Have a nice day. Thank you.